Greetings, my acolytes. I am the mighty Master Voluminous, teacher, commentator, and most importantly to you, storyteller. We are back with another episode where we read Gift C and Yadike Jr.'s debut novel, Vatour, Feel Free to Die. But before we do, I'd like to announce that the second Vatour novel, Vatour, The Price of Progress, will be released in the year 2023. If you had been following me, you may be aware that the sequel was supposed to be released at the beginning of last year, but we were sadly unable to meet our goals and obligations due to several unforeseen circumstances. Not an excuse, but we needed this to be just right. However, this year we intend to bring you the long-awaited continuation of the story that started it all. So stay tuned, and I'll keep you posted. Now then, let's see what our skeletal friend has been up to in the first book. Chapter 12. Good night, Miss Cruz. It is a cool night in the city of Scotch. Another day, another death. A gang was killed in brutal fashion. The Darksiders, notorious for illegal street racing, armed robbery, murder, and drug smuggling. Veronica Cruz has just finished giving a report on the story. Having concluded her late-night edition of Scotch Vision, she gets ready to leave. "Nice work today, Veronica," comes the voice of the director, a silver-haired pale man in a blue suit and a pink tie, as always.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
You drive safe now.
I will.
Cruz grabs her jacket off the rack and enters the elevator. It is quiet, as all elevator rides are, and is quickly forgotten once she reaches the underground parking lot. As she makes her way to the car, she hears footsteps coming from behind her. She looks around to see who it might be, but sees no one.
Must have been my imagination,
she thinks with a shrug. She continues on, and the footsteps begin again. She turns and looks around. Nothing. She decides to walk a bit faster to her car. As if on cue, the footsteps also pick up speed. Annoyed and somewhat scared, she turns around and calls,
"Who's there?"
No answer. No one in sight. After a few seconds of looking around, she decides to make her way back to her car, cursing herself for parking so far away from the blasted elevator. Once again, the footsteps mirror her own. As she quickens her pace, her pursuer does the same.
"Who's there? If this is a joke, it's not funny!"
she yells, and again she sees nothing but a mostly empty parking lot, not a human being in sight. She finally reaches her car, heart racing. She digs into her handbag for her car keys, wanting to leave the station as soon as possible. When she finally pulls them out, she nearly drops them in horror. In the reflection of the driver's side window, a hooded figure stands behind her. The figure resembles the Grim Reaper. She immediately opens the car door, gets in, but when she looks around, the nightmarish creature has disappeared.
No more late shows.
She drives out of the parking lot and turns on the radio to calm herself.
Southeast Block has been showing their support for what they've called the Freebird Phantom, the person responsible for the rash of murders that have been plaguing our fair city for the past few months. Granted, the majority of the victims were gangsters, but Zafir Konar, a beloved family man, was killed in his own home in front of the whole world.
Cruz nods at this.
I think it's obvious that this individual is nothing short of a psychopath, but I suppose it doesn't matter because he killed gangsters and a rich guy. Maybe I could get one of those hicks on my show. Show the world how pathetic they are, Cruz thinks aloud. Maybe that tailor who said the murderer saved his life? Or his daughter? That pitiful excuse for a journalist who tried to embarrass the police force to get her little newspaper some attention. Oh, I can almost taste the ratings.
By the time she reaches her house in the Fairview district, she has completely forgotten about the situation in her network's underground parking garage. After parking her car in the garage, she dismisses her staffs and goes on to take a shower. She is putting on her nightgown when the power goes out, an occurrence that is universally aggravating to those who are used to the city life. The slender Latina is no different.
You've got to be kidding me!
She yells before turning on the flashlight on her cell phone and making her way downstairs. She enters the garage to check the fuse box. All seems to be in order apart from the main switch being turned off.
Must have tripped,
she thinks, and flips it. Turning the power back on and walking into the house, placing her phone on the kitchen counter, she goes and grabs some yogurt out of the fridge and opens it. After grabbing a spoon, she turns to grab her phone, but it's gone. She looks around the kitchen, certain that she left it on the counter. After about 15 minutes of looking around, it rings. After discerning its location, she heads back to her room, finding it on the bed. That's strange. She could have sworn that she left it on the kitchen counter downstairs. Rather than dwell on this, she picks it up. The phone is strangely lighter than normal. She tries to turn on the screen to see who had called her. The device does not respond. She tries again and again. Still no response. She holds down the power button. The phone would usually boot up after 30 seconds, but she knows that there was substantial battery power left. Frowning in frustration, she opens it and finds no battery.
That's impossible,
she thinks. She heard it ring. How could she have heard it ring if there was no battery? More importantly, where the hell is the battery? The feeling of uneasiness that plagued her in the parking lot is creeping up on her again.
Wait, the parking lot?
No.
That's impossible. Damn it, Veronica, get a hold of yourself.
Just as she says this, her heart stops, when she feels a jagged hand on her shoulder. Bony. Cold. She screams and turns to attack whoever it was, but no one is there. She blinks and takes a few deep breaths. Then she hears footsteps going down the stairs. For whatever reason, she slowly goes to investigate. She places a hand over her mouth to stop herself from screaming again. Bloody footprints make their way from the doorway of her room to the hallway, all the way down to the base of the stairs. But this is not the worst part. No, what makes her freeze in terror, the owner of the footprints. A figure in all black stands in front of the door with their back to her. For several minutes, the hooded figure remains motionless, staring at the front door as if in a trance. They then turn in the direction of the living room and walk toward it. Cruz finally takes a breath, slowly letting the air in and out, as to not alert the intruder. She recognizes the outfit. It's the killer. Zafir Konar's murderer is in her house. Not bothering to figure out how the killer could have gotten in, where the blood came from, or how her battery had been taken, all she cares about is getting as far away from this house as possible. The door is right there. All she has to do is make her way downstairs, open it, and run to the neighbor's house. A literal straight line, and she will be safe. With a plan set in motion, she slowly makes her way down the stairs, taking care not to make a sound. The smart thing to do would be to simply lock herself in her bedroom, and she knows this. But for reasons she cannot understand or explain if asked, she feels she must take this risk. She continues to step lightly, staying on the right side of the stairs. But then she pauses, looking down at the bloody footprint. Placing her own foot next to it, she finds that her foot and the footprint are the same size. Strangely wanting to test this theory, despite knowing that she does not have a lot of time, she places her own foot on top of it. The blood is still wet, which brings her back to her senses and reminds her that she needs to get out of this house. Upon reaching the base of the stairs, she freezes and crouches, hoping the killer will not see her. She plucks up the courage to look around and sees no one. Hears nothing. Strange. Maybe the killer left.
Of course not,
she thinks.
He's probably waiting to ambush me.
She considers going back up the stairs. She knows she should. This trip is suicide, but the door is right there. She just needs to take a few steps, open it, and run like an Olympic sprinter. She gets to the door, once again seeing no one, hearing nothing, unlocks it with no difficulty, steps out into the cool night air, and runs out. In her mind, despite how close she is to safety, she cannot move. It could be fear. But fear does not grab you by the back of your neck and slowly drag you back up the set of stairs you just descended. Fear does not have jagged, bony fingers. Fear does not wear an all-black hooded outfit, and fear certainly does not pull you up to your feet and force you to stare in its skeletal face with empty black eye sockets. That was supposed to be some kind of metaphor, right? What fear can do is make you pass out, which she does. When Cruz wakes up, she finds herself tied to the kitchen chair. All the lights are off. You took your time, comes the distorted voice of the killer. She frantically looks around, unable to see anyone, even as her eyes adjust to the darkness.
Who said that? Who are you?
She asks, hoping that somehow she might be able to reason with her captor. Spinning conversations in her favor is her specialty. It is what made her the famous news anchor she is now. Granted, she's never had to interview a mysterious serial killer who currently has her life in their hands, which makes her wonder, why is she not dead yet? Does he plan to torture her? What matters is who you are, Miss Cruz. She still can't see him or discern his location. Not knowing a situation can be rather frustrating when your job involves finding and reporting information.
Where are you?
Here. She looks to her left. Nothing. There. To the right. Still nothing. Above you. The ceiling. Nothing. Beneath you. The floor. Again. Nothing. Perhaps in your mind. She shakes her head as if hoping the owner of the voice will fall out.
Stop screwing with me! I'm not afraid of you!
A lie, of course. She is beyond terrified. Be wary of your tone. She feels a sharp point, which she immediately recognizes as a blade pressed against the back of her neck. Freedom of speech, not from consequence. Veronica Cruz, known for her snarky remarks and quick wit, can do nothing but nod, her voice like a fishbone stuck in her throat. The blade is removed, and the captor finally comes into view. Her face turns ghostly white at the sight of this. What is it? The being before her resembles the Grim Reaper, hooded all-black outfit, skeletal hands, and a frightening skull for a face. It looks down at her, cold, empty socket staring into her blue eyes. It would seem the Southeaster blockheads were on the money when they called him a phantom. Where is it? Confused and still frightened, Veronica asks,
Where is what?
The recording.
What recording?
The phantom tilts his head to the left quizzically. Konar. A look of realization comes over her face, which causes the phantom to straighten. She quickly gives him a defiant smirk.
Didn't like my report on you?
The phantom does not respond. It merely continues to stare at her, unmoving.
You're a bit late, aren't you? The whole world saw what you did to that man weeks ago.
Still no response.
In fact, it's all over the internet,
she says with a shrug.
You were pretty sloppy.
The phantom leans to stare her in the face. She continues her defiance.
You can intimidate or kill me if you want, but everyone knows what you...
The phantom grabs her face and leans in close. Veronica can see inside the silver eyes, see inside the empty eye sockets. Silver eyes look out at her from the once seemingly empty eye sockets. I knew about that camera. Her eyes widen in shock. I know the video was edited. She gulps. What I don't know is who has the original, who gave the order to manipulate it. Tell me, and you live.
I don't know.
She is barely able to whisper. If you are going to lie to me, then I have no use for you. The Phantom pulls out a curved blade, the kind used to cut out Konar's heart.
It was Mayor Agassi!
We run all our stories by his office. He saw the full recording and told our producers to make it look like Konar was an innocent victim. You cannot be a victim without being innocent. Konar was neither. The blade disappears. Veronica takes a sigh of relief.
The mayor gave the original copy to Commissioner Kintu, so he has it.
The press, police, and a politician working together to hide the truth. Against her better judgment, Cruz chuckles.
If it makes you feel any better, those bumpkins in the southeast worship you like a god.
How do I know you aren't lying to me right now?
You don't?
Regaining a little of her trademark confidence, the Phantom stares at her again, then looks up at the ceiling. No point in risking it. He looks down at her. Or you. Once again, the blade comes into view. All of Veronica's earlier confidence disappears in an instant.
Wait! I am telling the truth, I swear!
She pleads, keeping her teary eyes from the talon-shaped knife.
I'm not lying to you, and I won't tell anyone about this, I promise.
I know. The Phantom sounds satisfied. Once again, the knife disappears.
Who are you?
Vatour. Remember it. The Phantom says as he starts to disappear into the darkness. Pray you don't see me again. And with that, he's gone. Veronica looks every which way.
Wait! What about me? You said I could walk out of here if I told you where to find the recording.
Vatour's voice comes from nowhere and everywhere. I never said anything about walking. Wow, that was the best chapter so far. Like, the feeling of suspense, the dread. When it talked about his jagged fingers on the back of her neck, I could feel it. But what's that about an edited tape? I'm fairly certain it's cut and dry. He murdered that man, right? But what else would we have been missing? I am very interested in seeing where this goes. Also, what happens to poor Miss Cruz? Well, you heard the title of the chapter and you've read it as well. Which I'm hoping you read it. The story is on Amazon. Anyway, but you heard the title of the chapter. It said good night. Which means that nothing good is going to come from this. Quite an interesting tale. I look forward to the next, and I know you do as well. So please, stay tuned. Goodbye, listeners.